So for a couple of months now, I have been thinking of alternative history, like what ifs and whatnot. And one of the ones that keeps sticking in my mind is like an alternate history of who became president. And so while thinking about different ways that we could have decided the presidency, I remember that in the UK, for example, the leader of the party in the majority in the lower house, the House of Commons, becomes the prime minister. For those who don't know, the prime minister is like the equivalent of the US president. Though the difference is, if you think of the US president, it's kind of like the prime minister and the monarch combined, because they're both head of state and all the other stuff. Anyway, so our equivalent of the House of Commons would be our House of Representatives. It's the lower house. And we do sort of have a leader there, which is the Speaker of the House. They're not necessarily the leader of the party, but the effect is the same. Well, no, it's not, because they don't become leader of the country. Anyway, what I was thinking, what if they become the leader of the country? What if we decided our presidency was decided by who is elected Speaker of the House? So I came up with this little old list here to scratch that itch. Now, before we get in it, what you're going to have to realize, what you're going to see here, is you're going to see more than one person becoming the president more than one time, more than once. Sometimes for more than a decade, very rarely for a decade. We also have a case of someone becoming the speaker for literally one day before getting ousted. I didn't really look into why they left, but or why they got kicked out. Well, they didn't get ousted because Kevin McCarthy is the only one that's actually been like formally ousted from his position, forced out by his colleagues from that position. There have been there. You're gonna if you look up the House leadership or the speakership, or whatnot, you will notice there are vacancies. So it's not as smooth as how we have it here in the U.S., where we have a clear list of a presidential succession. I guess that's the benefit of when you have your legislator body separated from your executive. Which is interesting because the longest we've had a vacancy for the House, because I know that was like very controversial last year around this time or something like that, late winter, whatnot, was 1855 to 56 for about 2-3 months. It took 133 ballots to get a new speaker. Also, I am going to be adding in a placeholder. After the ouster of McCarthy, they had a speaker pro tem. Basically, think of him as a House Speaker with very limited powers. So I will be adding them to the list of presidents, even though they didn't last very long. But like I said, we had House, speakers that lasted, as quick as like one day. So it is what it is. This will bump up the number of individuals who have in this list, particularly who have become president, and technically who have become House Speaker in some form or fashion, 257, technically. Also, a very interesting thing you're going to notice is that James Polk is going to show up on this list. Now, for those who don't know, James Polk was our 11th president. 3 events that happened during his presidency was the Texas annexation, the Mexican-American War, and the California Gold Rush. So on this list, he becomes our 17th president and is elected a decade earlier. So let's go ahead to the list.